The biggest threat to modern society is not artificial intelligence. The biggest threat to society is cheap dopamine. Whether you're consciously aware of it or not, dopamine distractions are reducing your productivity and getting in your way every single day. In this blueprint, I'm going to show you how to deal with one of those, which is your email inbox. Email inbox is not an instant messaging platform. It should definitely not be on your mobile phone if you're even doing it at all. In this blueprint, I'm going to take you through the blueprint that I used to not only get email inboxes out of my day-to-day noise, but also get rid of email management altogether. This blueprint is one that you fundamentally need if you want to work on your business rather than in it and add value rather than getting distracted. In my opinion, you should not have emails at all. However, if you do need to have them, you definitely do not need to have them on your phone. So about 6 years ago, I deleted the Inbox app from my mobile. And about 4.5 years ago, I actually got rid of using email at all in my business for me personally. And what I'm going to do is take you through this in this blueprint of how you can achieve the same. So the first is understanding the purpose of emails. Now, emails and inboxes, emails and email inboxes are not an instant messaging platform. If somebody sends you an email, they do not expect an immediate reply. Now, this blueprint I'm talking about is director level, and your team may well be driven by emails, in which case, the same as our companies, they will have what we call an SLA, a service level agreement, that if an email comes in before 3 p.m. on a day, it has to be responded to the same day. If it comes in after 3 p.m., it has to be responded by 10 a.m. the next day. And the team are very much driven by service levels and being available, being accessible, being on their email as they're running the day-to-day operations of the business. You, however, are a director, you're a company owner, you're an investor. You should be working on the business rather than in it, and you want control of your day. You don't want distractions. And in order to do that, you definitely don't want or need emails on your phone. Instant messaging, if people need to get hold of you, would be a phone call or a text message or a WhatsApp message. Inbox is not one of those. So what we want to do as a minimum is the first step is to delete your Inbox app from your mobile and then have a dedicated cadence of checking in to your inbox to go and actually view, respond and reply to emails. And it's quite likely that would be, in most cases, once, for some of you, an hour, if you're desk-based, once a day, if you're out in the field and you need to sit down. But the aim of the game is it's not on your phone, it's not distracting you. You can work on the business rather than in it. So the first is delete your email inbox, get it off your phone and don't have it. The next step, which took me a further year to do, is I was checking in on my emails once or twice a day, and then it still became this sort of semi-laborious task. And what I realised when I wasn't in my app all day, every day, swiping, delete, file, forward, is actually that a lot of the tasks I was doing when I was sitting down to do these batches of emails, maybe once a day or twice a day, I would sit down to batch it, and I realised the majority of work that I was doing was actually functional. And whilst I'd been able to move it from something I would see every hour to something I would see once a day, actually I would start to realise that the high volume of work is very functional, in which case it's not vital, it's not high value, and it's very much working in the business in most cases rather than on it. And what I looked at then is how could I actually delegate this? And about 4.5 years ago, may actually have been longer ago, I delegated my inbox management to my PA. And what I've realised and what I now teach is that an inbox can be managed by anybody for £15 an hour within 6 weeks. And basically, because it's highly functional, if you put this blueprint and process into place, you can have a PA or a VA anywhere in the world on £15 an hour doing 80% of the heavy lifting that actually happens in your inbox. And if you take the amount of time that takes over a day, week, month and year, you're talking about hours, days, if not weeks, of your time being bought back of functional work that's heavy lifting that you do not have to do. And these are the 3 steps that I would encourage you to consider. So the first is to delegate. The second is to systemize. And then the third is to actually action. So if we start with delegate, who do you actually delegate to? And for those of you that haven't attended our 3-day blueprint event, we're running our annual events this year in June, July and August. If you go to www.don'ttalktotenants.co.uk, there's only 150 places available. They've sold out every year for the last 11 years. And if you want to attend to learn these blueprints start to finish, 3 days at a 5-star resort, we only run them once a year. visit the website now or the domain name in the show notes and come and learn how to do these things, put the blueprints into practice, systemize your business, and delegate these tasks. And this is an example of that in practice. So this can be delegated to a PA or a VA for £15 an hour. And the reality is anybody can learn it in 6 weeks. If you put somebody in the driving seat of your business, most of the things that happen in that inbox happen on a daily or weekly frequency rather than monthly and annual. And what you'll realize is within 6 weeks, 80% of the workload, which is highly functional, somebody can navigate your inbox, your Google Drive, your contacts in your business to handle the tasks that we're going to talk about systemizing without you having to do it. Now, there is a consideration here. It depends what your level of privacy and confidentiality is in that inbox, what information you are happy to share and what information you aren't. And there's ways that you can navigate this personally. I personally have an EA who's worked with me for a long time. They're certainly not on £15 an hour. I pay them a significantly higher amount of money to do the same task. But the reason for that is they're working on high value tasks, doing multi-million pound deals, and it's highly private and confidential. And that's how I choose to go around it. An alternative would be to have a functional inbox, which you may have seen other people in your space that are at a high level use, where they have first name, second name at companydomain.co.uk. And that's really just noise that comes in and out of the business. That's functional. But then you might have a private and confidential email, which is your first name, surname, private at gmail.com. And actually hardly anyone has access to it. And that becomes your private inbox. Your business inbox goes to the PA, VA, and you overcome that sensitivity issue. So the first is to delegate. The second is to systemize it. So what you'll realize is when we systemize the inbox, there's 4 things that need to happen. And really, only one of them you need to do. So 3 of them can be delegated. You've basically got your forgets, your files, your finds, and your responses. So forget is basically what I realized when I started doing this desk-based and I was batching. A lot of the time I was deleting stuff, blocking spam. You know, people that have just got hold of your inbox. The forget stuff just needs to be blocked or needs to be recorded as spam. And a VA can do that. If they know that after 6 weeks, they'll know what's spam and what isn't, and they can block it, they can spam it, and that's just functional admin that you can delegate, piece of cake. The second is file. So stuff will land in your inbox. Just let you know your new insurance policy has now been granted. Here's a copy of your policy documents. Or just let you know your gas safety certificate has just been updated for this property. Here's a copy of it. And what you need to do is file that stuff away, either by using folders in your inbox or ideally a portfolio folder in your Google Drive. And the second is filing things. You know, you need to have access to all of your files. The reality is if you're doing it on your phone, you're doing it at a pace, you're probably not filing stuff properly. Whereas if you delegate to a PA, not only do you not have to touch that stuff, but it can be archived, it can be filed, it can be organized accordingly. That's very much a PA or a VA job. It's not yours. The third is to find things. So the amount of times you'll get emails like, oh, can you send me a copy of this? Can you send me a copy of this? There's things that people need to find stuff. In your organization, they need you to find an email in your inbox or a document from a property acquisition, XYZ. That is just a functional task that can be done by a good VA or PA, and you don't need to be involved. And that's the first 3 things. Forget, which is your spam and block. File, which is taking things and filing them properly so you can find them in the future. Renaming them is obviously a good thing to do. The third is finding stuff. You know, finding items for you. Can spend hours picking through inboxes and files and attachments. You don't need to be doing that. A VA can do that. And the final is to respond. And what we do here is this is where you and your PA or you and your VA would work together. And this really is only about 20% of the stuff that comes through your inbox that requires your attention. And you can address that on a daily or even in some cases a weekly basis, depending how actively involved you are in your businesses. And the way that we process this is using tabs. And the system for this is 3 tabs. The first is awaiting response. And what this means, this is really important. You want to drive your team to be driven by outcomes, not tasks. And when somebody that's running your inbox says, oh yeah, but I replied to that person, and you say, oh, they haven't come back to us about the mortgage application. You say, oh, well, I sent all the information last Tuesday. That's a closed action. It's focused on the action, not the outcome. Oh yeah, but I've sent the email. But you don't care about the email. I don't care about the email being sent. I care about the outcome. I want to know what is the status on the mortgage. I want to know what is when is the refund coming on X, Y, or Z. And what you need to do is, rather than have it as closed action, which means sent and done, you keep it as open outcome, which means a task is open until it's closed. It's open until it's actually completed. It's open until you've got the outcome. And what we do there is we call it a waiting response. So if there's an open email thread that hasn't been closed, it's ordered in the VA or PA or EA's inbox as a waiting response. So then they know, depending on what your feedback loop is or your check-in cadence for separate tasks, on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis, they're following that up. Where are we with booking this event? Where are we with X, Y, Z? And it's a waiting response. And then they'll check in on those daily, weekly, monthly, whatever you agree. And then there'll be action in those to get it closed. Their job is not done until the outcome is achieved. So that's called a waiting response and gets marked in the inbox. You only need 3 tabs, a waiting response. The second is a waiting response from the MD or CEO, whoever you are in your business. And what that means is they've sent it to you, and I'll talk about how to do that in a moment. In fact, this is going into the action process now. The third step is actually the way that we action it is I have a WhatsApp group called DH Inbox. And what happens there is my EA sends any emails that require my attention. And it's normally 3 things. One is FYI, so just for your information. And here's an update. FYA is for your action, which means it requires a response. And what you'll find is if it requires a response, it either needs a decision. Do you want to go for A or B, or direction? We've hit this problem. What solution do you want us to put in place? And once they've sent that to you, so for me, it would be in my WhatsApp group, it will sit there until I respond to it. And in the same way as that a third party awaiting response is open, in their inbox, awaiting MD response or DH response shows them that it needs to be followed up. And if I've not gone back to it in a day, 2 days, 3 days, but it's urgent, it needs a response, then they can prompt me to say, right, have you got an answer for this yet? And nothing gets dropped, nothing slips through the net, nothing goes unanswered. It's there and it's tracked. And then the third is the PA to action. So the third is they've got the response from me, they need to action it, and it might be consolidate 5 months worth of management accounts, or get together all of the social media posts that we did about X, Y, Z and send it to this company. And they mark it as PA to action. It means it's part of their to-do list. And then they've got 3 inboxes. One is awaiting response from a third party. The second is awaiting a response from you. And the third is a to-do list, emails that they need to action. And once you've got that up and running, within 6 weeks or so, you should be able to keep that down. Again, it depends on where you are in your journey. But when I do check in, which is very rarely, I wouldn't expect to see more than about 15 to 20 emails in total across all 3 inboxes, to give you an idea of where that is. And if I ever go in there, we use the SLA that every email that comes in before 3 p.m. needs to be responded same day. Any email that comes in after 3 p.m. needs to be responded by 10 a.m. And just having that service level agreement and that structure and strategy in place, it means this inbox can run world-class service, everyone's getting a response, all incoming emails are being acknowledged, and everything's being kept open until it's a completed task and it's closed. And what you'll find is from that, my inbox management may take me, and again, it depends where you are in your journey. It depends how much of a key function email is. It depends how autonomous your PA and VA can be with what's required and how much input you actually need to have. But that, for me, has personally gone from being something that was on my screen all day, every day, back in the day, 10 years ago, and it was just this ongoing anxiety, stress of another thing to worry about. And then when you started getting email on your phone, is there bing, bing, bing all day, every day, someone's always screaming, wants to get attention from you, to now inbox management really is, if I spend 10 minutes a day on it, that's probably an exaggeration. It's at the end of the day, I'll clear down the WhatsApp group. I may not even go in it for 2 or 3 days, in which case I'll get chased for things that are urgent, or I'll say, look, I haven't managed to get through to my inbox this week. Can you let me know if it's urgent? And I'll do it before close of play Friday. And it just becomes this little thing that's quiet, that sits in the background, and it's not another bang, bang, bang distraction that's there all day, every day on your laptop and phone, causing you a distraction. This is the high value activity that you want to be putting in place. These are the blueprints that you need if you're going to actually work on your business rather than in it. And if you seriously want to get to a point where you're making 6 or 7 figure profits a year, you're definitely not going to do that deleting spam emails from your inbox, and it needs to be delegated. I hope you got value from that blueprint. And again, if you haven't attended one of our 3-day events, go to www.don'ttalktotenants.co.uk and we host our annual 3-day events. There's only 150 places, sold out every year for the last 11 years, and it's got 100% money back guarantee. So check it out now. You'll get maximum value from those events. Otherwise, I'll see you on the next episode, and I hope you enjoyed this blueprint.